would you rather have? A better relationship with your mum or knowing who your siblings were? And a better relationship with your mum means you have no idea who they are. But you haven't, or I don't know, whether you do know, whether you don't know, it's irrelevant. But
I'll just.
what would you rather have? So you either have the relationship that you have with your siblings, you know who they are, but obviously you've had no relationship with your mum or the other. What do you prefer?
I don't know. There's that saying, ignorance is bliss, but is it? If I didn't know about them, then the relationship with my mum would probably have carried on. But then I think whatever, secrets don't stay secret forever. They'll always come out. And she was carrying a big secret. She was keeping a big secret. And it would have come out eventually. Could have come out later, but it came out when it did. I wish it'd come out sooner, then maybe things could have been handled differently, in a different way. Maybe I handled it wrong when it all came out. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously it resulted in the breakdown of the relationship I had with her. But I don't feel that she did anything to try to rectify that relationship. Some people might say, people of the older generation would say, well, she's your mother and you're supposed to accept whatever she says and does. End of story. But I'm not of that generation. You don't just accept things right or wrong. Do you know what I mean? If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. There's no two ways about it. So to her, it's like, I had no right to go digging or to find out. So when she told me that she'd been raped, I should have just left it at that and do no more about it. But how could I? As I kept saying to her, you raised me to think for myself. You sent me to school to be an intelligent person. How could I be an intelligent person and hold something like that? I have siblings out there that I don't know. And in a world where people are moving around so easily, whereas before you can get on a plane and be anywhere, I could meet somebody, fall in love with them, and only to be told or find out that person's my brother or do you know what I mean, or something like that. You can't. You have children. The world now is smaller, really, because people move around so much easier.
They have Facebook.
Exactly. So, you know what I mean. You have to know who you are. So, even if maybe she was hoping I would never know, maybe, but there were people that suspected, and it was the whispering behind, as I said, because I was the secret for a long time. There's those that knew and didn't say anything. But then they probably thought it wasn't their place to say. It was my mother's place to tell me.
You said something about the way it was dropped. It was almost like it was just so, as a matter of fact, it was so like, that you have to drop it, so blasé. And obviously like, it would have been different now this time. Do you think kids are too protected now? Or because obviously it was a lot harder, but it was just the counselling community, like kids in counsel and stuff like that. Do you think now kids are a little too protected, or do you think that generation was just really hard?
A little bit of both. I think it's I think what it is now. Back in the day, then it was a case of like you had adults and you had children, and there was no in betweens. There was no, you respect your elders, whatever they said, that was it. Nowadays, you have, I think that gap is closed up, because even back in those days, children didn't have rights as such. Do you know what I'm saying? Whatever you told a child, you told them whatever, and that was it. Whereas nowadays, it's like children's feelings are taken more into consideration, whereas they weren't so much so in that time. Because now, if you had to tell a child something like that, they'll say, somebody might say they need counselling because they've grown up believing this person's their dad, and then to be told something like that, then they start misbehaving. Oh, it's as a result of that. There's no one spoken, because it is an emotional upheaval. It is, and I know for myself, I would have liked my mum to have, when she told me that, if that's what happened to her, to have told me that in a softer way, a more understanding way, and take my feelings into account. How do you feel? I'm sorry I had to tell you this, but to me, it wasn't like that. She just said it, and there was no thought to my feelings. It was all about her. And then to find out that, in fact, that's not true. And that's the worst thing about it.
Do you think you need counselling or need counselling?
No, I don't feel so now.
You think you needed it before?
Maybe at the time I might have, but that's why I always say there's one person I feel that really helped me get through this, and that was Cleo.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like he understood. He understood because it's like, I suppose, being older, and he had a little bit of insight as to what happened. And I think the turning point for me with him was when I remember when I got when he said to me, I want you to get on the plane and come here. Because I had so many questions. I think he was the only one really that was in a position that can answer some of them, or most of them, because of what he knew. And I think he knew somebody, an elder that was still alive in Antigua at the time, who knew a lot of stuff that had been going on. So he was able to speak to this lady. And I remember him saying to me, like, come over, because I think he could see I was drowning, and I was drowning. But it was even harder for me because I still had to put on a certain way that I don't think even Kelly kind of understood or knew what was going on. And I remember getting on the plane, and I remember sitting on the plane thinking, oh my God, I'm in this plane, flying to this country I've never been, to meet a person I've never met, I don't know, who's my brother. How out of this world is this? I don't know this person, I've never met him before. I'm going to a place I've never been before. There's nobody else there that I know. And I remember when I got to the airport, when the line got to the airport, and I remember him standing there, and I walked out, and he saw me, he looked at me, and I looked at him, and all he did was open his arms and held me like a child. And there's me, a big grown-up woman, but I felt like a child. And I remember he saying to me, like, when you come, we'll talk. If you want to cry, you cry. If you want to scream, you scream. If you want to laugh, you laugh. Whatever you want to do, we'll do. Whatever you want to do, we'll do. He said, I'm going to hold your hands. He said, I never held your hands to take you to school, as I should have done as a brother, but I will hold your hands now. And it was stuff like that that got me through it. And I remember when I went over there and I met him, and he was living in Iowa then. And I remember we used to spend hours, we used to talk right into the night, and we'd sleep on the settee downstairs. We'd talk and talk and talk. There were times we cried together, times we went out together, and I felt like a 5-year-old sometimes, holding my big brother's hand, walking, and sometimes in silence, but it was a comfortable silence. Sometimes he was just talking about I could talk to him, just whatever come out of my mouth, I would talk to him, and he understood. I'd never had that feeling of this big brother's protection before, and that's what Cleo, and I do feel like Cleo's the one that helped me get through the worst part of that. Cleo, Verona came later, because I met Cleo first.
So, how many siblings did you go from having to then having?
So I've gone from having 3 siblings to having 13 siblings.
So you just inherited 10 siblings.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how you feel.
Oh, wow. Sometimes I think, oh my gosh, I have all these siblings. Sometimes it makes me feel a bit sad sometimes as well, because I just feel like if I'd known them from time, I'd have built up a good, well, not say good, I would have built up a relationship with them, because not all siblings have good relationships. So there'd be some that you might get on with, some that you don't get on with. But at least I would have had that chance to have had some form of relationship with them. Because there's, as I said, there's one or two that sort of think, oh, well, you know, they feel no way about it.
Yeah.
And you can't blame them, because at that stage in your life, you think, it's no big deal. Do you know? So with those that reached out to me have really embraced me. And sometimes it makes me feel sad, because I'm thinking, because it's like if we get together and they're talking about when they were things that they did, which I never had. And the other thing that I feel sad about is that I have half siblings. I have no full brother or sister. All my siblings are half. It only does sometimes when someone says something, like if someone says something like, "Oh yeah, but that's your half brother, isn't it?" It's like, he's my brother. I see it as my brother. I remember having an argument with somebody one time because like, said, "Oh yeah, that's your half brother." I said, "No, what half is my brother? He's my brother." End of story. No, he's your half brother. And people do say that. "Oh, he's your half brother." Not just to me. People just say, "Oh yeah, they're not full brothers. They're only half brothers." I totally agree. Totally understand. Totally. But I'll be in all Leslie and Mervyn are the only two. I mean, excluding the others for a minute. Mervyn and Leslie has never ever made me feel I'm only their half sister. To them, I'm their sister. End of story. Like now, obviously, Cleo, I'm his sister. Verona, David, Aldrin, I'm their sister. Do you know what I mean? But there are people who sort of say, "Oh yeah, no, he's your half brother." No, he's my brother. No, but you're only half. Do you know? So